Okay, hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about the new anime that just dropped, Bastard. It's on Netflix. It's about 13 episodes. It's all done, and it is dog shit. I was I was so hyped for this anime. I was hearing incredible things about the story and everything about it, and my God, was I just fucking disappointed. It is utter trash. I have to say it. Give a little background on this anime. It's very akin, or what I was led to believe, it was very akin to, say, something like a Berserk. It was made in the 80s, and it's been going on till literally to this day. It's been on hiatus, though, for over a decade. Again, very reminiscent of Berserk. But what I thought was going to be selling to me, right? It's being promoted and marketed as this heavy metal dark fantasy anime, but there's very little of that in the actual anime. There's you can see it when all right, the OP, it's very metal, and the OPs are actually very good. So like music wise, you could say that the production in this anime, it's decent at best. Um, Other than the OP and the ending, but it's all that music isn't very like sprinkled. It's sprinkled through the whole show. It's not executed properly, I don't think. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't know. The music is just one aspect of the show that's like iffy, but it's still okay. Anyway, it was promoted as this like dark fantasy. Not it has really. Other than that, though, it has no actual similarities to Berserk. Like in Berserk, the art style is just fucking mind-bogglingly incredible. It's so detailed and amazing. The characters in Berserk are relatable and interesting to watch. The story of Berserk is amazing as well. Bastard has none of that. I hate almost every character in this show. They're all incredibly obnoxious, as well as being. I have no idea what anyone's motivations are in the show. I have no idea why any of this is happening. The plot is messy and slow. The world building is absolute trash. Apparently, we start out immediately. Actually, in the first episode, we get a big exposition dump, huge exposition dump. How civilization ended by this god that humanity created. Apparently, like an evil god humanity creates somehow. It's not explained how this happens. This god fights a dragon knight, and they end up destroying the entire world somehow. 400 years later, that's like during like modern civilization that happens. 400 years later, humans are still around, but except now we have goblins and elves and trolls and dragons and wyverns, and now people can just use magic. There's no rhyme or reason to any of this. There's no explanation at all. We just get our giant exposition dump, and then bam, world's in chaos, and now all this other shit's happened for no reason. What's even happening now? It seems that people have lost all like information from that era of time, 400 years gone by, yet they still know about the god that did all of it, and now they're just trying to resurrect the god that destroyed all humanity. That's great. It's genius, right? It doesn't matter. Apparently, there are other gods too, but it's not explained. The other gods that like give people magic power, and then they're like tied together in some way. It just doesn't make sense. Not that like the power scaling of the show makes any sense either. I can't tell you like why these spells exist and how powerful they are and what they do. It seems that it's tied to like the people who use them specifically, but like some spells are stronger than other spells because they're tied to stronger gods. But we don't know any of these gods. We don't know why they're this powerful, what they're doing, what are their motivations. We don't know. See, it doesn't matter, I guess. Let me get to the characters. I wanted to say this. Even though it's like a dark metal fantasy, it's not very dark at all. It is a fantasy for sure. Um, again, like I said, lots of goblins and ghouls and people fighting each other with magic and shit. Um, but it's not dark. It's actually quite vivid and bright. sometimes oversaturated in color, honestly, onto a level that like, oh, why is this happening? Why is it so pretty? I thought it was supposed to be very detailed and dark and ominous and more actually heavy metal. It's not. It's not. It's none of that actually. None of that at all. It's very disappointing. My expectations have been subverted, I guess, because all the characters always like go lucky and go happy and very bombastic and just it's annoying. They're tedious and annoying basically to a point when I'm rolling my eyes every episode and then I don't want to watch it. Again, it's not detailed, by the way, either. So the art in the show, it's very standard modern anime. You can like it's almost like the illusion of, oh, this is good art. Just the way all the characters look and the setting and how it looks. It's not actually detailed though. It looks pretty, but it's not detailed, and that's how like I would never compare it to something like Berserk, where yeah, I'm not gonna even talk about the Berserk anime, just the manga in general. How everything is so highly detailed, and all the colors and not the colors, but the lines of the panels and how it all flows together seemingly endlessly. That there's none of that in this show. I mean, it looks pretty to look at, but it's not actually good. If you can understand what I'm saying. Anyway, this is another thing where the animation. Um, People have a lot of trouble like distinguishing animation from art. Animation's like how the characters move. Art is just like the way everything looks. All right, so the animation for a series like this, I don't necessarily expect like ufotable levels of animation in fight scenes and stuff, because that's like if you've seen Demon Slayer or even Fate Night, or Fate Zero. The animation style and the art, like, it's so like incredible. The things they can do and the way people move. This anime has basically your standard, yeah, very standard seasonal shonen anime fights that look awful, and it's just why it seems like they had all the budget in the world if they're promoting this on Netflix. Why couldn't they just make these fights more dynamic and stylistic? Because they're not stylistic at all. They're not dynamic at all. It's very, very, very still and not comforting. I don't like watching it. It's not entertaining to watch these fights. And there's a lot of them. There's a lot of just like big explosions that look big and look grandiose. But again, it's the illusion. That's not actually what's happening, and it's not comforting at all. You should really like deep dive into their characters. We get our main character, Dark Schneider, and he's a womanizing bastard, even though he's not really womanizing in the fact that he's constantly like fucking on chicks, except we never get to actually there's no actual sex in the show. It's basically softcore porn for fucking teenagers basically. But I don't even teenagers know that they could just go on the internet, right, and look up porn. Why would they want to watch like this softcore porn shit? You don't get to see any boobs. You don't get to see any dick flying around. And it's fucking boring. It's constantly happening. I don't like it. It's not funny in a way. If I was gonna like compare Bastard again to another show that's like sort of soft porn cornish, it's very like corny in the way that it shows this like side of its story. I would compare it to Prison School, except or Prison School is very, 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 very. It's hilarious in the way it handles all this like teenage boys having sex and like vying for girls and like harassment. It's just so fucking funny. Unfortunately, Bastard has none of that. Every time um, Dark Schneider finds a new girl, he ends up groping her, and then the girl just automatically wants to have sex with Dark Schneider now, even though like they're enemies. He's like getting his enemy. He's trying to fuck all his enemies. Except we never actually see him fuck. And I was like, that's just really blue balling me. If I wanted to watch fucking hentai, I would go on Google and watch fucking hentai. Why is this? It's not even actual hentai though, because no one's having sex. It's just boring story dialogue with Dark Schneider creating a harem basically throughout the world. It's fucking annoying. There's another plot point too that just is like fucking weird. Um, this is why this makes no sense either. It's gonna tie into like world building plot too. So there's this character. She's an elf. She's in the past. She was a Dark Snyder's daughter. She I put that in quotes. Daughter. They're not actually related, but Dark Schneider, hundreds of years ago, we'll get that straight. Hundreds of years ago, he raised her basically into this warrior, a magic warrior girl, who he now like, and now they like, oh my god, she calls him daddy, but she hates him, and but they've had sex together. It's fucking really weird. It's so confusing. Mention hundreds of years ago that she's an elf and she is hundreds of years old, but the world is that's been going on is only 400 years old. So how do elves even exist? And apparently they have their own culture. Cultures take more than and if you're like an elf that can live hundreds of years, your culture needs to span thousands of years to like make sense. Oh, you can't, it takes time to like build that. She's the only elf we've seen. There are no other elves. She's the only one. Anyway, it's just more messy world building and just weird gross shit. Like I'm used to it though. I'm used to like that weird shit Japan does, but even I watch too much fucking anime. So that stuff doesn't hit me as hard as as other things could. I'm an edgy boy. It's not actually edgy to me 'cause I'm desensitized. But whatever. Even watching, I was like, "What the fuck? What am I watching?" And it was like that in every episode. It was boring, very boring. The pacing is uber slow as well. Things happen at a breakneck pace. It is so hard to watch, especially the time you're just watching Dark Snyder try and hit on women and that are trying to kill him, and they all end up failing and falling in love with him for no reason. It's the same, and it's like why, why is this happening? So yeah, don't waste your time with the show. It's literally not worth your time. Um, it is bad. I cannot. I scored this a 3 on my Mal list. I should probably score it lower. Really, usually when I like anime, I have to consider more than just like plot and story. I have to consider animation and art too. Again, as I said, the animation, the art, is very standard like seasonal anime, modern anime. It's not good at all. The art, yeah, you could say it looks pretty because it's very bright when you're watching the show, but it's not actually unique in any sense. And the animation has no unique style to it either. So it's just boring to watch. It doesn't. It's pointless. Um, I have no idea how different the manga is to the anime. I'm assuming that they're both censored. It's basically a shonen, so I assume there's no sex in the manga at all. Um, I've read like one chapter, I think, and it was like censored. I read one chapter and then thought like, oh, I saw the announcement for Bastards coming out, so I was like, oh, I'll just wait. I can wait, like a year or two. Doesn't matter. And yeah, but we're here now. Fuck this. Fuck this. God, fuck this show. I'm done with it. All right, rant over. That's it. See ya.